r/ask Reddit. What medical condition do you have that you thought was absolutely normal? I thought your throat, mouth, and lips were supposed to hurt after eating fruits like apples and pears. Nope, just allergic. This is how I felt about cookies with tree nuts in them. I just thought the nuts would scratch your throat to shit and make it itchy. Didn't understand why people love tree nuts so much. Just realized I'm probably slightly allergic to carrots. I have this but with citrus. It makes me very itchy. Apparently other people don't get itchy after eating oranges, lol. Also bready things make me feel like I'm choking a bit for about 30 minutes after eating them. It's like I get an overproduction of mucus and also my throat gets a bit tight. And the combination makes me cough a good bit. My sister and mother have that bread issue too. My sister's allergy panel showed a moderate allergy to wheat. She stopped eating anything with wheat gluten and doesn't have the issue anymore. So I assume my mother and I also have a wheat allergy. I still eat bread though because it's delicious. My sense of smell is rated 1 out of 5. 5 being normal. I always thought everyone was exaggerating smells of flowers or stinky messes. I have an insanely sensitive sense of smell, so I know where you're coming from. Lots of things give me headaches. It was dialed up to 11 when I was pregnant. I've not been tested but it certainly seems like my sense of smell is significantly worse than those around me. Cataplexy. It's the hallmark symptom of narcolepsy, but most people don't know it actually has a large range of presentation. I remember talking about a YouTube video to my friend and described it as one of those super funny ones that makes your face stop working. Apparently I didn't realize it wasn't normal to have your face droop and your head become too heavy to hold up if you laughed too hard. After being diagnosed with narcolepsy, I began to notice a few other things. Constantly dropping things wasn't just me being clumsy. Going completely limp on amusement park rides and slurring my words whenever I laughed wasn't normal either. Too long didn't read, I turn into human jello every time I laugh or get excited about something and thought it was completely normal. I am so sorry for laughing, but the way you worded this was humorous and made the situation much more lighthearted. I'm really happy you got answers and I hope things have gotten better. No need to be sorry. I'm glad I was able to make you laugh. There's nothing wrong with bringing a bit of sunshine into the world. I'm glad I got answers as well. Luckily, cataplexy is, for me, a minor annoyance at most, and while it may never get better, it's not very hard to deal with now. I have always felt cold. Not normal though, it's cold out cold. But holy shit, I am freezing cold. I thought some people just handled the cold better than others. Turns out it is one of the symptoms for severe anemia. Thanks to iron infusions every 3 months. I still feel cold, but not the I think I maybe are freezing to death cold. Feeling cold can often be normal. If it's hot and sunny outside and you're still really cold, then yeah, that's not right. Lupus. My doctor always told me that the constant pain and fatigue was just part of growing up. Then they said the pain in my chest and shortness of breath was anxiety and I was just fishing for attention. Surprise. I was short of breath because lupus made the lining of my lungs swell and made my heart enlarge when I was having an outbreak. 10 years later it's finally under control. Thanks to one doctor who told me being tired and in pain every minute of every day was not normal. I thought the dryness of my eyes was really normal until I found out that part of the reason they get dry so easily is that they don't close all the way. That must have been an eye-opening experience. I'll show myself out. The experience was pretty funny though. I went out of town with some friends and was staying with them. One of them stayed out later than the rest of us one night and came back in. He was trying to be quiet and not wake anyone up, but he saw that my eyes were open. And so he said sorry for waking me up. Then he realized I was asleep. Then he forgot about his plan to not wake anyone. Because he shouted, "Everyone wake up. JP sleeps with his eyes open." And then I realized they don't close all the way. And you can see it when I'm lying down. Tinnitus. Ringing in the ears. When I was retiring from the military, the VA doc asked me if I had ringing in my ears. I said all the time, but I don't think it's more than anybody else. He gave me a weird look and said ringing in the ears is not normal. I thought it was because most of the people I know have ringing in their ears. I can't imagine not having tinnitus. Do people without it literally hear nothing when it's quiet? I can't wrap my head around not hearing a ring. I never notice it unless it's very quiet and I'm actively thinking about it. I assume a lot of people have a little bit of ringing that is drowned out by ambient noise. I thought everybody had diarrhea every day. Same. Imagine how shocked I was when I found out other people don't constantly switch back and forth between constipation and diarrhea. Wild. I scrolled down looking for this one. IBS for 10 years. Then I went off birth control and had a few months with no IBS symptoms. Got horrible pregnancy related constipation. Totally normal with all that progesterone. And realized my birth control pill had been messing up my gut for a decade. I'm 13 months postpartum now, with a hormone-free IUD, and I am regular. Still boggles my mind that I was constipated, with frequent bouts of diarrhea, for 10 years and just thought, oh, this is my life. I have always had ringing in my ears for as long as I remember and I thought everybody experienced it. I'd heard of tinnitus plenty of times but for some reason it was a while until the penny dropped. I've never heard complete silence because of the noise. I always thought silence was the ringing in my ears. Does yours get louder the quieter the background sounds are? I wouldn't say louder but rather more obvious. I can ignore the ringing if I'm doing something like watching TV or talking to somebody, but when there is little no sound it becomes much more obvious to me. When I'm lying in bed it seems very loud and often keeps me awake, but I'm pretty sure it's the same volume at all times. I just notice it less during the day because there is usually a lot more going on around me. I'm not sure if it's a medical condition per se, but my second and third toes are fused together on both feet. My brother has this as well and my mom too, just a little bit. I grew up thinking everyone had connected toes until one spring in middle school when everyone was wearing sandals. I literally shouted out in class, "You guys don't have connected toes?" And everyone looked at me like I was insane. Not really a medical condition, but last time I was at a dentist. Turns out I have no canine teeth, so I pretty much would be screwed if I were a vampire. I had an extra canine between my upper two front teeth. Had it taken out and got braces for about a year to pull them next to each other. For some time now, I would sometimes, like, once every several months or so, yawn large enough that my jaw sort of gets stuck open. It always corrects itself within a few minutes, with a distinct feeling that the jaw was slipping back into place. Didn't think anything of it, just thought it was something that happens when you open your mouth that wide. Then it happened a few days ago while I was in the same room as my mother, a doctor. Turns out that no, this is not normal behavior for someone's jaw. It's something called temporomandibular joint dysfunction, or TMJ. Still doesn't seem like an incredibly pressing thing, but I'll certainly bring it up the next time I see my dentist. Your jaw slipping out isn't really enough to call it TMJ by itself. It's normally accompanied with clicking, crunching, jaw aches and pains and headaches. It sucks. I have a Shatsky ring, a narrowing of the lower esophagus, which means I have to drink a lot of water with anything I eat to get it down, especially dry foods like bread. Otherwise food gets stuck in my esophagus and I end up in a lot of pain. Once when I was maybe 11 or 12, I watched a man eat an entire bagel without drinking anything and I was shocked. You can get that dilated. I ended up in the ER thanks to some steak getting lodged in mine. They popped the steak into my stomach and dilated the ring so food doesn't get stuck anymore. I still won't eat without having a drink to wash it down though. Force of habit. Bipolar disorder. I figured everybody thought about killing themselves from time to time, and anytime anything went wrong. This impression was strengthened when going on an antidepressant helped but didn't make it go away entirely. Things are different now that I'm on a mood stabilizer. Exploding head syndrome. For years now, sometimes when I'm falling asleep I'll hear a sound similar to a car crash in my head. At the beginning I conceived myself that I had just imagined hearing it, but it became normal until I stumbled across an article about it and realized what it actually was. I had this, and always thought it was my neighbor listening to the TV loudly. Thought I was developing schizophrenia for the longest time when I found out it was all in my head. Insomnia, sleep deprivation. I always just thought people stay up late as they get older till around high school when friends would go to bed and be asleep by 10 PM. Same here. I used to think that everyone would lay in bed for 2 or 3 hours before being able to get to sleep. Thought the bloating and urge to shit your pants was a normal trade-off for eating dairy, like how some peppers can be painfully spicy, until an ex of mine pointed out I was probably lactose intolerant. Doctor confirmed it. Told me to stay the hell away from cheese. I was 18. To be fair, I had mentioned it several times to my mom growing up, who is also lactose intolerant but still eats dairy and suffers through it, and she just assumed I knew what lactose intolerance was and brushed it off as something else. I was homeschooled though, so not sure where else she'd assume I'd learn that. Dyspraxia thought I was just less coordinated than most people, but my nephew was diagnosed with it, at which point my mother told me, "Yo, you were diagnosed with that when you were a kid too." Would have been nice if someone had told me that there was a reason I was so clumsy. POTS. For most of my childhood, I just assumed that everyone temporarily lost their vision when they stood up. I have lupus, and with that comes Raynaud's syndrome. My hands and feet turn completely white when cold or stressed and then blue purple. I thought it was normal. Deviated septum. 95% of my right nostril was blocked. I never thought anything of it. Sure, it whistled sometimes, and colds really sucked, but doesn't everyone's nose whistle sometimes? And don't colds suck like this for everyone? Turns out, the answer was no. Best part, the gov paid for the nose job due to the severe blockage. When I had the stents removed, it was a ducking life-changing moment. I could breathe out of my face. It was like colorblind people seeing the full spectrum for the first time. Life-changing. And you don't know how you survived before without it. Now I take it for granted, as I do everything. Depression. I thought I was just a bit moody until the doctor said you have to go to hospital. I'm not letting you go home. I understand this. I would love to be inside a normal person's head for a day just so I can see what it's like to not be so sad all the time. I just cannot fathom that life. Alice in Wonderland syndrome. Once I realized it's not normal, I asked everyone I came across if they ever experienced symptoms, and so far have only found one person. My older sister. We both also suffer from migraine for what it's worth. I totally get this when I'm sick, migraine sufferer too, but also re-I before I fall asleep if I'm especially exhausted. It's been happening to me since I was a little kid and I figured it was normal. Alas, it's so hard to articulate to somebody who doesn't experience it and they just look at you like you're cray cray. Diabetes insipidus. Basically I drink more fluids in a day than most of you do in 3 or 4. At one point it was so bad I was drinking 6-7 liters of water a day. I know, because I would fill up my 2-liter water bottle every 45 minutes. Drink it all and repeat. Oh, and I would also, not exaggerating, pee every 10 minutes. My ears hardly have any cartilage. They're very soft. I never noticed that until a friend pinched them trying to get my attention when we were about 16. It was a revelation seeing that everyone else has hard ears. Aphantasia. The ability for your mind to visualize an image. If you were to ask me to picture my room, I can tell you the location of my bed, table, etc. But I am unable to visualize the setup. I remember one psychological trick people always say is don't think of an apple, which forces them to picture an apple. I had always thought this was just a saying, and didn't realize that people could actually visually picture an apple in their mind. Auditory hallucinations when falling asleep. On any given night I might hear doors closing or footsteps or voices or loud bangs. Occasionally, it's startling enough to get me out of bed and looking around the house. I didn't realize this was weird until I got lost in a Wikipedia rabbit hole and came across an article on it. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.